For today we're playing Dragon Age Veilguard, and this time with the RTX 3080. We're playing the game at 1080p at the Ultra preset. You'll be able with that. There's no RT, no dynamic res, and no DLSS for now. So the game defaults to the Ultra preset on the 3080, and it enables DLSS as well as dynamic res. So keep that in mind. Alright, past the intro, we're in this forest area, which would be pretty intensive on the GPU. We are sitting at 70 FPS, just barely holding on. In the intro, we're sitting at around 90 on average, like it was the mid 80s and the 90s. Felt pretty good. It was weirdly smooth. I think I felt one stutter in the entire section. It took me like 20 minutes or 10 minutes to get the shaders all done, but it definitely pays off. I mean, the game is just so buttery smooth. I started playing Dragon Age Origins this year. Haven't finished it, but this game is very different, at least to me, from the first game. There's like no turn-based combat. A lot of things look different, that's for sure. Okay, we get to choose our characters, that's kind of cool. And for me, this came out at 3 AM, and I had to install the game as well on top. So, like 4 AM pretty much. So I'll probably do one video right now, and then I'll do the ROG Ally probably in like 14 hours or something, so keep an eye out for that. And at the same time, I will do the beta for Monster Hunter as well. So it's going to be a packed day, but hopefully it all goes good. For Avira, I'm using up 8.5 gigs. This card has 10 in total, so using RT might be a bit of a challenge. But so far, hasn't been an issue. It's playing it quite well. At 1080p anyway. But again, at 1440p 4K, or with RT active, it might have some issues. We'll see. Now enabling DLSS at the Ultra preset, we are sitting at around 90 FPS up to 110. 100 FPS. The graphics are pretty close, I would say. Does look a bit over sharpened, but again, it is very close to native, so not too bad, guys. My guy looks so weird, man, I swear. His face just, I mean, I got a random character pretty much. I didn't spend too much time on my character. That's how it normally goes for me in these games. I don't really care about what my guy looks like, because I'm going to have armor on him anyway. And in most cases, you're not going to see his face anyway. I mean, yeah, guys, this is running super smoothly. Like, not a single stutter pretty much. It's a crazy difference between Silent Hill 2 and Dragon Age. Silent Hill 2 had a major stuttering issue. But I mean, the game was still playable for me. Wasn't really that big of a deal. But ideally, if I could, I would have a game with no stutters in it. Alright, there we go. So yeah, I think for me, if I'm playing at 1080p, I'm going to enable DLSS. It looks very close to native, and the extra FPS is good. I mean, it feels smoother, feels far more responsive, and it will give us headroom for a heavier section if it does happen. Okay, let's pause the game here, guys, enable RT, and try it again. For RT, I've enabled reflections and ambient occlusion, and down here for ultra ray tracing, I'll keep this disabled. Alright guys, RT active with DLSS as well, and we're sitting at the high 60s and low 70s here. So around a 30 FPS decrease, like a 20 to 30 FPS decrease from before. And this area here doesn't look like the most intensive RT section. Can't see too many reflections or any of that, so it might be a heavy scene later on that will tax the GPU even more. Still though, for me, I think I'm going to disable RT and just get the extra frames. Game feels far more responsive and far smoother to play. And again, it's always good to have the extra headroom as well on the GPU side of things. Okay, let's pause the game here, guys. Go up to 1440p, no DLSS, no RT, and see how we go there. Alright guys, native 1440p, and we're sitting at, what, the mid-50s now? I'm kind of forced to play on a controller now, guys, because Windows just sucks. I was looking at the Steam page for this game, and people are crying about FPS drops. Like, the majority of the complaints are about crashes and FPS dips. I haven't had any of that. The shaders compiled perfectly, first try, not a single crash. And in terms of FPS dips, I'm guessing it might be CPU bound, because the first area is apparently very CPU bound. So maybe that's it. But for me, yeah, it's been like very stable. Again, no stutters pretty much, no crashes. And the FPS does go down, like depending on the area pretty much, but it's pretty good. So again, here guys, we sat into the 50s and now the 70s once we left that little area with the foliage in it. But again, ideally have some extra headroom on top just to be safe. But this is playable as is. Dude, my guy looks so goofy though, doesn't he? His shield is so big. I think I chose human too. I don't know, I thought I chose the human class. I always go for human. I'm so boring with my character designs. This is a good sign though, to be honest, because the main complaints again on the Steam page are about the performance of the game and just the crashes people are having. So the game itself seems to be good. I mean, it's been like an hour or two, so yeah, this is an RPG. It'll take me a while to figure it out, but if the first impressions are good, that's a pretty decent sign that the game's going to be at least okay. Alright guys, playing with DLSS now, the balance preset. And we're now sitting at, I mean, the mid-70s still, but in the same spot over here, it's up into the 80s and even the 90s now. For the graphics, again, it is pretty close to native, but not quite as good. It looks close enough, so you might as well use it, and the FPS gains are definitely worth it. Or, if you want to not enable DLSS, you can use dynamic res, or just play at a lower preset, like high or medium even. But reading my comments makes me think you guys want to play at the max settings instead of playing at a lower preset. Like even in COD, I was getting comments about not testing the extreme preset, which is surprising because, you know, it's a multiplayer game, why would you want to play at extreme? But the demand seems to be there, so I will try it out for the next one. So for me, I think I'd rather play at 440p, no RT, with DLSS than to play at 1080p with RT and DLSS. I think that's definitely the move for this one. It looks way sharper, way more crisp. So for me, I think that's the move. Alright guys, RT active with DLSS, and we're back down to the 60s and the 70s. So we're losing what? Like 10 to 20 FPS with RT active? And this is the base RT mode, not selective or I guess Ultra RT. So keep that in mind. Obviously using Ultra RT would cause the FPS to fall even lower. And one more time as well, this is in the most intensive RT section in the game, I would imagine. So it's best to give yourself a bit more headroom so you don't fall below 60 FPS. For the VRAM, it is now sitting at 9.5 gigs or 9.4 gigs. This card again only has 10. So might be an issue later on or at some point, but in this section it is playing quite well. Okay, here we go. Way more intensive here. Like barely holding 60 guys. So yeah, it's best to give yourself some headroom. The water does look pretty good though, guys. I like the water. It's kinda, I mean, stepping in it. Ooh. There we go. A major freeze right there, guys. Did you see that? And the VRAM is now at 9.6 gigs as well. So that was the first time I've seen a major stutter or a major freeze like that. So there you go. Again, for me, I think RT is just not worth it. I think in most games, RT doesn't really add much. I think Cyberpunk is the only game where I actually played with RT active. But everything else, just disable RT, use SSR. It looks good enough, I think. And the FPS is way better, so yeah. Okay, that's back out, guys. Play at 4K and try it again. 4K Ultra with no DLSS, and we're sitting at the high 20s. The game looks gorgeous though, guys. 4K looks incredible. It is just so sharp. We're getting some stutters as well. Again, the first time I'm seeing these, pretty much. I guess the second time now, because of the freeze beforehand. And finally with DLSS active, we are sitting into the mid to high 40s and the low 50s. So can't get a stable 60 going at all, even with DLSS. So I think at this point it's best to use dynamic res or lower the settings of the game. But if I'm being fair here, 40 to 50 FPS on the controller feels pretty good. It's not too bad. Alright guys, dynamic res time with DLSS active. Let's go down here. I'm using a 60 FPS target, and for minimum resolution scale, I'm using 70%. Alright, here we go guys, look at this. 70 FPS here. The graphics looks fantastic. It is so sharp still, so no complaints so far. So yeah, I think for 4K it's best to enable dynamic res on top if you are planning on playing at ultra. If not, then you can, you know, play at medium or something and try to get 60 FPS that way. And I think with RT active as well, it might be good to have dynamic res active at the same time. Again, by default, the game will play at ultra on this card, and it will have RT as well, RT active, but it'll be set to the selective preset. And also on top of that, you will have the LSS and dynamic res enabled by default as well. So, you know, off the bat, by default, it should be a 60 FPS experience. But I guess you never know, right? So yeah, I think that's pretty much it, guys. That is that dynamic res. That's Dragon Age Velguard on the RTX 3080. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Next video. See you guys there.